What's going on, guys? Stephen, S&E's Garage, and today we're going to get that noise to go away. So if you've been keeping up with the channel, you'll see that we did our full inspection on this thing and we found out that the bearings in this alternator are bad. They are screaming, absolutely bad, terrible. So what we did here is we purchased a nice remanufactured Denso alternator for this car. Now, I don't know if this alternator has been replaced or not because it does not have a Honda sticker on it. But almost any Honda vehicle, any Toyota vehicle, any Acura vehicle that you buy is going to have a Denso original equipment alternator. I know Denso works good in my Toyotas, so why not in the Honda? So that's what we bought. We didn't cheap out and buy a cheap remanufactured or a cheap new one. We went as original equipment as we could with this Denso unit here. So in order to replace this, it looks like what we have to do is remove this power steering return hose. So we might make a little bit of a mess. I'm going to slide some cardboard under the car. Our tensioner is right over here. That's this guy. We're going to set you up on the tripod. The first thing we're going to do is release that tensioner so we can get the belt off the alternator. And then we'll take it from there. This thing's held in with 3 bolts. There's going to be 1 here and then 2 down at the bottom. You can see 1 is behind this suction line for the air conditioner. It might be a little bit tight. And then the other one is just to the right of it. So let's go ahead and get started. So before we even touch this car with a wrench, first thing we're going to do is touch this car with a wrench. But we're going to touch it in the right place. We're going to go ahead and remove this negative battery terminal. That way we do not have to worry about getting shocked when we pull this alternator off. We do not want to do any 12-volt welding here. Anytime you're doing alternators, starters, anything like that, always remove the negative terminal. That way now the car is disconnected. Nothing's going to happen here. Make sure you have your codes for your radio and your navigation before you do that. Otherwise, you'll be pulling the radio out trying to find the codes. But other than that, our battery is disconnected. And now we are going to go ahead and release our tensioner with a 14mm wrench. Here we have our 14mm offset wrench. It's nice and long, and this should allow us to get down in here and release the tension from this tensioner. We're going to go ahead and just slide the belt off of the power steering pump like so, and that is going to allow us to get it off of the alternator. So now we can go ahead and start making our disconnections here at the alternator. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do here is remove this 4-pin connector. Should be relatively easy. Squeeze and pull like so. And then we are going to remove this rubber cover protector here from the side of the alternator, or realistically that's the back of the alternator, and it's going to reveal the 10mm nut that we need to break loose and unthread. So let's get in here, break this loose. I'm actually going to use another set of my offset wrenches because this little offset will get in there a little bit better because it's recessed. There we go. Once we get it to a certain point, we should be able to get in there by hand and unthread it like so. Now we can slide that positive wire off. So now it's disconnected. So the next thing I'm going to do, like I said, I'm going to get the cardboard under there. We're going to take this power steering hose and move it out of the way. And this should be relatively easy. Just a pair of pliers, move the clamp, break the hose loose, and then we're just going to very carefully. This is a plastic hose barb, so just be careful. Wow, we didn't even spill any. Okay, we're just going to move this hose out of the way. I'm going to wedge it over here, up behind the air conditioning lines, like so. Now we can go ahead and start taking our 12mm bolts out. So we're going to get the top one first. It's the easiest. Ding! Number one. Alright guys, we're going to tackle the one on the right side. If you're standing in front of the alternator, it's going to be to the right of the suction line, or the low side line here for the compressor. We're going to be using a medium depth, so semi-deep socket, and we're going to go ahead in there with our flex head ratchet, and we're just going to get it on that nut, or that bolt, and break it loose. Like so. Now I might be able to get down there with my hands. No, probably not. We're going to have to work this one all the way out, aren't we? Alright, so now going to grab a small extension. There it is. I'm going to try to get on there. You know what, it'll come out by hand now, we're good. Let me get this out off camera. Here's number two. I just went down there with my electric ratchet. I was tired of going in there and trying to finger it out. So there's number two. Now we're going to go ahead and get, again, same tool. I'm going to use my flex head. And I think I can get an extension down there to kind of give us some more room to get number three out. If I could see it. Alright guys, so we got down there here with our swivel and our extension, and we broke that loose. So now we should be able to get it out the rest of the way. It's a little tricky to get down there because of this AC line. If I had an AC machine, it almost would have been worth it to suck the system down and pull this line off, because it's really, like, ridiculously in the way. But we're on it. Like I said, we broke it loose already. So now it's just getting it off the rest of the way. Right. It's coming off by hand now. Sometimes it's easier to just get your hands down there and unthread these things. Like so. So your two short ones are at the bottom, your tall ones up top. This alternator's ready to come out. Go ahead and grab a pry bar. Didn't even need a pry bar, it's already loose. And now we are going to wrestle it out. Alright guys, so we're up here with it. We should just be able to twist and turn now to get it out. Now I do want you to listen to this. You can hear this thing. Those bearings are shot. And I don't see any markings on this thing at all. So I do not know if this has been replaced or not. But I'm probably going to bet that it has, and it's already failed. So, with that said, let's slide our new one into place. It's really tricky with all this junk in the way to get it down there, but it's doable. There you go. Right in. All right. Let's get our top bolt started. The long one. This puppy here, we're going to get this started. Alright, let's get our two bottom ones started by hand. And it goes. Wow, it grabbed already. Perfect. Alright, let's get this other bottom one started. Alright, and it grabbed. So now, I'm going to see if I can get in there with some electric tools. Just zip this thing back together. Alright, we're just in here tightening the last bolt up. Perfect. Double check our work here, double check this one, make sure it's definitely tight. Alright, and it's time to get the belt on. Alright guys, so because we only took our belt off of two pulleys here, we only came off of the power steering and the alternator. You're just going to want to double check, look down there with a flashlight, and make sure that all of your pulleys are still lined up. You'll see here we slipped off of the crank pulley a little bit, or you won't see it, but I can see it. So we're just going to use our pry bar here to get down and push this belt back onto the crank pulley like so. And we're just going to double check with our flashlight that everything else is still on. So you'll see, or I will see, we're on our crank pulley, we're on our air conditioning compressor, we're on our water pump, and our idler here, and our tensioner. So all we are going to do now is use our tensioner. We're going to make sure we have it on the right side, which we do. And we are going to remove the tension, there we go, we got to pull it towards me, off of this belt. And slide our water pump or our power steering pump back onto the belt. Now we should be good. So now we're going to double check our work here. We're going to make sure our belt is on. and it looks good. So now we can go ahead, plug our alternator 4-pin connector in, like so. We're going to slide the positive power cable on there, and we're going to tighten her up. Get it started. Like so. Now I'll use my offset wrench here to tighten it the rest of the way. And right now, if we didn't have that battery connected, every time we touch this intake manifold, we'd be welding. So always disconnect. Always, always, always. Alternators or starters, disconnect the battery. Okay, we're going to put our rubber boot back over the terminal. Like so. And let's connect our battery and start it up. All right. Let's snug this up. Make sure that's on all the way. Okay. All right, guys, battery's connected, power steering line is connected, alternator is all plugged in, bolted down, belt is on, like you saw. Let's go ahead, start her up, and see how she sounds. It's a moment of truth here. Money. This thing has never sounded this quiet. Perfect. So if this video helped you put an alternator in your first generation Acura TSX, that should be 2004 to 2008. This should work for the Honda Accord too, same years. So I'm gonna put this video in as Accord and TSX. But please like, share, and subscribe. See you next time.